Hey, hello, it's Mielle again, and welcome back to the Lead from the Heart Summit. Our next speaker is Renee Bova. She's an amazing woman. She's suffered through all kinds of different emotional wounding trauma through experience in her life, and she has created a way for herself to share with others how to work through that. Her presentation today is all about the healing power of creativity, forgiveness, and radical self-love. So please tune in. Her story is amazing. What she chooses to share is amazing, and I am sure that you will just find this nuggets of gold. So tune in.
Hi, my name is Renee Bova. There are so many things I want to tell you about myself, but here are just some labels that I'll say. I am an international best-selling author. I am a podcast host. I'm an artist. I'm a nurse practitioner, and I'm an angel mom. And just recently, I became an angel grandmother as well. I started my art practice, or should I say, reignited it after significant losses in my life, and I discovered the healing power of art. But really, it's more the healing power of creativity that I want to focus on, because we are all created to be creatives. And what that means is there's a genius zone inside of each one of us that can help us heal, help us put ourselves out into the world and ripple on this kindness, love, generosity spirit that we all have within us. I want to tell you a little bit about my story to let you understand a little bit more about me. So I started, let's go back to high school. In high school, I was always interested in art and I took several art courses, but I also have this compassion, humanitarian side to me. And I was in the Future Nurses of America Club, the art club. I like science. I like learning all things geeky, but I'm also very artistic and creative. When it came time to make a career path choice, I chose what I felt would be the logical choice. As a nurse, I knew that I would always have employment. And quite frankly, I really have the heart and the compassion for that job. So instead of going to art school, which I did wrestle with that a little bit, I chose nursing school. I met my husband in college and we married, and I had 4 children. I was really busy, and my career took a sidestep as I focused on raising my kids. When my youngest was 2, well, youngest at the time, I had 3 right in a row, and then I had a little break, and then I had my 4th. So when Bradley was 2, I went back to work part-time and um, started really dividing myself between family life, work life. But I worked just enough to help with the finances and keep current on my nursing license and still be a mom. At that time, I really felt like motherhood was the most important job that I have ever had in my life. Fast forward, I decided to go back to school. I got my master's degree and started teaching nursing at a college. My kids were in their teens at that time, late teens, and my middle youngest, Bradley, was becoming addicted to opioids. And by the time we discovered he was addicted, it was too late. He was in really deep. He had numerous attempts at recovery. He ended up going to Florida, and unfortunately, he died in a halfway house down in Florida. That really started a deep dive into healing for me. I know it sounds not logical, but loss has become a gateway for self-exploration and diving really deep into healing modalities and self-healing and radical self-love, which is one of the books that I co-authored that is an international best-selling book. You know, when I was a week before my senior year of college, my dad died in an automobile accident. He was in his 40s. I thought that was the worst experience that anyone could ever have. But I was wrong because unfortunately life had more in store for me. Bradley was bold. He was a comedian. He was loved. He gave huge bear hugs. And his physical presence here on earth is missed greatly. But I know that he's okay. He was 23 when he passed away. And that catapulted me into a place of deep despair and grief. In fact, even though I had so much to live for at that time, oftentimes I felt like I wish it was me instead of him. But I kept pushing forward and I kept moving through that darkness. And that's really kind of the talking point of my podcast, Catch Some SoulShine. We need to, or it's suggested, I don't tell anybody what they need to do, but I suggest that we keep pushing through because I want to help you find brilliance after life's darkest moments. And a dark moment doesn't have to be the loss of a child or grief or trauma. It can be, numerous things that we experience along the way of this journey we call life. So after Brad died, I just kept moving forward. I did a deep dive into service work. I became actively involved in an organization called Ohio Can, Change Addiction Now, which I am still involved with. But somewhere along the way, I discovered that I was kind of losing myself. And then we became very close to Brad's sponsor, Brian, who had 5 years of solid recovery and experienced a very traumatic breakup. He relapsed and he also passed away or passed on. At that point, I was like, how can this be happening to me? I don't understand it. Like Brad and then Brian, who really walked me through my darkness, and now he's gone. And my sister, who is a classically trained artist, invited me to paint with her. And I'm like, no, I didn't even want to pick up a paintbrush. I didn't want to do anything creative, but I did. And sitting at that kitchen table with her and her daughter painting for 2-3 hours, I don't even know how long we were painting. I felt this deep sense of peace and gratitude and joy. And I was able to sit still for the first time in a long, long time. And it wasn't until I was finished that the light bulb went off and I thought, there's really something to this. So I made a decision to start painting. I took numerous classes. I've learned various techniques, and I just keep painting away. So I started sharing my art on social media, and people started buying it. I made a little business called Heartwork by Dawn. And as I got deeper into my business, I discovered that my purpose is really not solely just to teach people how to paint, but to help people, guide people through that darkness, as so many others helped me through my darkness. Unfortunately, my darkness, I guess you should say, or the dark shadows in my life are not over. I think as we age and get older, we experience more dark shadows. Last year, my grandson was at the babysitter's, and it was a babysitter that I had found because my oldest son was in the hospital with COVID on a ventilator and a serious infection. And I thought I was going to lose him too. At that point, I prayed, please, please, not my Brian. And miraculously, he did make it off the ventilator. He came home, but he, at that point, was in a very depressed state. He was a stay-at-home dad. So I secured this babysitter for Willie and my granddaughter, Brindley. I feel the babysitter made a tragic mistake out of frustration, anger. I really don't know because she's not fully admitted to what happened, but Willie died from what appears to be shaken baby syndrome at the babysitter's. And losing Willie put another dark shadow in my life. But here's the thing. Because I have done so much inner work with prayer, meditation, creativity, writing, I have been able to move through that darkness very quickly. Not only that, but I have forgiven the babysitter because forgiveness is not for someone else. Forgiveness is for you. And I know my family members are at various stages of the grieving process, and there's not a lot of forgiveness for somebody that is charged with the death of a child. But I think of the times when, my kids were just unruly, whatever you want to call it, and I lost my patience and I said things or did things that I'm not proud of. So I think that forgiveness really is important, and that is part of healing. I had a talk with one of my spiritual leaders, my pastor, and she's a female, and we were talking about, the afterlife and energy and, what happens to a person after they leave here. And, she's really cool. And I talked to her about my beliefs that aren't quite consistent with perhaps all religious views. And, she said to me, if you really want to break down the Christian religion, it's very simple. God is love. That doesn't mean love the people that are easy to love. That means loving those people, places, things that are difficult to love. But with that being said, you also have to maintain healthy boundaries for yourself. And sometimes you have to cut the cords that bind you to those people, places, and things. Doesn't mean that you can't show love for that person, place, situation, institution, but you can cut the cords. That's one of the things that I've worked on with myself is, loving myself enough to let go of things that no longer serve me. One of the mantras that one of my spiritual mentors gifted me was, nothing shall enter my sacred space that isn't for my highest good. You can steal it if you want. Copy it, make a sticky note, put it on your mirror, put it in the bathroom. but nothing shall enter my sacred space that isn't for my highest good. So, what are some of the things that I love to do? Well, first of all, I keep an art journal. Creativity isn't just for magnificent artists. An art journal is a place where you can express yourself creatively and put something down on paper that words cannot describe. It can be a color. It can be the way you make the marks. It can be you can have frustration in it. You can have flowy lines, whatever you feel like. And just keep it. Do a little doodling every single day. That's one of the things that I started doing early on was a paint along on this private channel that I have on Facebook. And then I decided, I'm just going to do a paint along every week on my YouTube channel. So I've started doing that because I do believe that creativity is instrumental in healing your mind, body, spirit. And guess what? There's science to back that up. In recent years, they've done many studies on the brain showing that creativity helps increase the neuroplasticity of the brain. And what is that? That's brain health, brain growth, cell growth. It also creates new neural pathways in the brain. So we have pathways of experiences in our brain that are trauma related or grief, in my case, or whatever. And they're always going to be there. The key is to build new pathways that are stronger, bigger, bolder, so that you don't go down those old pathways. You keep forging through the new pathways and make your brain healthier. Radical self-love is a concept that a lot of people shy away from, but really it's instrumental in emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical well-being. Because if you don't love yourself enough to care for yourself and do the things that make you happy, joyous, and free in this life, I think it's on you. And I'm not perfect. I have a lot of work that I still need to do. In fact, one of the things that happened to me after losing, after so many losses, is I started emotionally eating, filling myself with food that's not nourishing my mind, body, spirit, and soul. And I continued to do so. You know, we're taught to do that from an early age. Think of it. Eat your food and then you can have a treat. Go to the potty and I'll give you this little piece of candy. It's conditioned in us from such an early age. And it was really the last roadblock for me. I've embarked on a journey of eating foods that are healthy and nourishing for my body. Because when your body is nourished well, then your mind is better, your spirituality is better. One of the concepts that I hold firm to is we're not adding things to ourselves. When you come to this summit, you're not adding. All of the modalities that I like to show and teach, creativity is a big one for me. And some of the other things that you're going to learn here are not things that you add to yourself. They're things that help you remove everything, the clutter that's blocking you from the sunlight of the spirit. I feel like that's my grand message. So to recap, radical self-love. Are you willing to take a step toward that? If you are, you're in the right place. 2, let's take away everything that's blocking us from the sunlight of the Spirit, because we are here to be happy, joyous, and free, no matter what. And 3, remember this: nothing shall enter this sacred space that doesn't serve my highest good. Thank you.